I am Charles L. Sargent. I was born in Georgia in 1948. I went to Vietnam at the age of 17, where I traveled the rivers of North Vietnam and returned home in 1969. In 1974, I was going to college at night, and one night there was a large crowd gathered in the parking lot. Melanie Ann Hartsfield, one of our classmates, had been murdered that day. There were many in the parking lot hugging and crying. My investigation began. I published my first book in 2012, Sins of Henry County, but I had no luck in getting anyone in the news media from Atlanta to New York to investigate anything about these murders. No one believed me or my suspicions about the murder case in 1974. It took me 35 years to overcome my fears, as in being killed, and publish a book accusing our sheriff of being involved in the murder of two people. Melanie Ann Hartsfield had been murdered with her former high school teacher, Marvin King. On November the 10th, the newspapers had 6 murdered victims across the top of their Sunday paper. 2 were murdered by a serial killer, John Paul Knowles. My first book was about the 2 victims from Henry County, Melanie Ann Hartsfield and Marvin King. But not truly so much about them, but more about the young black man who found the bodies in the woods at 3 p.m. on a school day. He flagged down a car for someone to call the sheriff, and within 90 days, he had been framed and sentenced to die in Georgia's electric chair. Now, after another 10 years of investigating, I learned who murdered the 2 victims as well as the 2 other victims in the Sunday's paper. 4 people were murdered on the same day in different areas of Atlanta by the same Dixie Mafia hitman. Each murder was to satisfy 4 individuals who wanted these people murdered, and the Dixie Mafia doesn't work cheap. To make matters worse, one of the victims was a police officer working undercover, looking into other officers involved in drug trafficking into the Atlanta airport. He was murdered with the help of his own fellow officers. These files clearly show law enforcement knew of the murders beforehand and covered them up afterwards, and they're still covered up to this day. In the photograph, the first picture is police officer Eugene Barge. The second and third is a mother and father killed by a serial killer, Mindy and Mr. Carr. The 4th victim is Jeff Lee, a musician who produced Joe South's The Games People Play. The 5th and 6th victim is Melanie Ann Hartsfield and Marvin King. The terrifying truth behind 4 unsolved murders, a wrongful death conviction, and a justice system that protected the guilty. Read these books that they never wanted published. Sins of Henry County and Georgia's Darkest Days is now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.